Welcome to Growth Through Thought, where we explore the deepest corners of the human mind and the shadows within us all. Have you ever looked into the mirror and wondered if a monster lurks behind your eyes, waiting for the right moment? We like to believe that evil is something foreign, a trait belonging only to psychopaths, criminals, or villains in history books. But psychology suggests a terrifying truth. The line between good and evil is not fixed, but permeable and easily crossed. This creates a disturbing paradox where ordinary, compassionate people can commit acts of unspeakable cruelty under the specific set of circumstances. We call this transformation the Lucifer Effect, named after God's favorite angel who fell from grace to become the devil himself. Alexander Solzhenitsyn once wrote that the line separating good and evil passes not through states, nor between classes, but right through every human heart. This means that within you, and within me, there exists the potential for both great sainthood and terrible destructive malevolence. To understand this, we must stop looking at evil as an identity and start understanding it as a process of choices. Let us travel back to 1971, to the basement of Stanford University, where a simple experiment changed psychology forever. Professor Philip Zimbardo wanted to understand psychological effects of becoming a prisoner or a guard, using normal college students as subjects. These were healthy, intelligent, and normal young men, screened for psychological stability, and randomly assigned to be either guards or prisoners. The flip of a coin determined who would hold the baton of power and who would wear the chains of submission. The guards were given uniforms, batons, and reflective sunglasses to hide their eyes, stripping them of their individuality and humanity. The prisoners were arrested, stripped, deloused, and given numbers instead of names, effectively erasing their past identities and social status. What was supposed to be a 2-week simulation descended into chaos and brutality in less than just 6 days. The guards, previously pacifist students, began devising cruel punishments, forcing prisoners to clean toilets with bare hands and endure humiliation. Even Zimbardo himself lost his objectivity, becoming the prison superintendent, prioritizing the security of his prison over the welfare of students. The sunglasses acted as a mask, allowing the guards to dissociate from their actions, feeling no personal responsibility for the pain caused. This experiment revealed that situations matter more than disposition, and bad barrels can turn good apples into rotten ones very quickly. We often underestimate the power of the system and the situation, believing our moral compass is stronger than external social pressures. But Stanford was not the only evidence. Stanley Milgram conducted an experiment that exposed our dangerous obedience to perceived authority figures. Milgram wanted to know if ordinary people would inflict severe pain on a stranger simply because an authority figure ordered it. Participants were told to administer electric shocks to a learner in another room whenever they answered a memory question incorrectly. The shocks were fake, but the participants did not know that. They heard screams of pain recorded on a tape player. When the learner banged on the wall and begged to stop, the participants hesitated, but the researcher simply said, "Please continue." They were told, "The experiment requires that you continue. You have no other choice." And shockingly, most of them obeyed. 65% of participants administered the maximum shock level, fully believing they might be killing the person in the other room. They were not sadists. They were ordinary people who surrendered their conscience to authority, entering a state of agentic state. In the agentic state, the individual sees themselves merely as an instrument for carrying out the wishes of another person. This explains how atrocities happen. It is rarely one evil mastermind, but thousands of ordinary people just following orders. Bureaucracy facilitates evil by fragmenting responsibility, so no single person feels they are the one pulling the trigger. But obedience is only one part of the equation. To harm another human being, we must first strip them of humanity. Dehumanization is the psychological process of demonizing the enemy, making them seem less than human, and therefore not worthy of moral care. Propaganda often uses metaphors of vermin, diseases, or monsters to describe outgroups, triggering disgust rather than empathy in the brain. Neuroscience shows that when we view dehumanized groups, the part of our brain involved in social cognition fails to activate. We create a mental wall between us and them. Us are moral and right. Them are dangerous and wrong. This distortion allows soldiers to kill, torturers to interrogate, and neighbors to turn against neighbors without feeling the weight of guilt. Moral disengagement allows us to restructure our perception of cruel behavior, framing it as necessary, honorable, or serving a higher cause. We use euphemisms to sanitize our language. Collateral damage instead of dead civilians. Enhanced interrogation instead of torture. Language shapes our reality. By changing the words we use, we can change the moral evaluation of our actions. Evil is rarely a sudden leap. It is a slippery slope. It begins with small, seemingly insignificant steps of compromise. In the Milgram Experiment, they started with small shocks. Once you justify 15 volts, it is harder to refuse 30 volts. This is cognitive dissonance. We justify our small, bad actions to protect our self-image, which prepares us for larger transgressions. Anonymity also fuels this fire. When we feel anonymous, part of a crowd, or masked, our inner restraints are loosened. We see this today on the internet. Cyberbullying flourishes because screens provide a digital mask, distancing the aggressor from the victim. The lack of direct eye contact and physical proximity makes it easier to inflict psychological pain without feeling immediate empathy. In a crowd, responsibility is diffused. Everyone assumes someone else will intervene, or that the group's actions must be justified. This is the bystander effect. The more people present, the less likely any single individual is to offer help. So, are we doomed to be puppets of our environment? Is evil inevitable? The answer, thankfully, is a resounding no. Psychology not only reveals our weaknesses, but also provides the tools to build resistance against these corrupting forces. The first step to resistance is awareness. We must admit that we are vulnerable to situational pressures, just like everyone else. Carl Jung called this the shadow. We must recognize our own capacity for evil to prevent it from controlling us unconsciously. We must practice moral vigilance. This means constantly questioning our actions and the orders we receive, rather than blindly obeying. Ask yourself, if I were not in this uniform, or in this role, would I still perform this action? We must be willing to pay the price of social rejection. Saying no to a group is difficult, but necessary. Find allies. It is hard to be a lone hero. Finding just one other person who agrees with you changes everything. In variations of the Milgram Experiment, when peers rebelled, obedience dropped dramatically. Dissent is contagious and can inspire others. Rehumanize the perceived enemy. Focus on what you share with others rather than what separates you from them. Look for the individual behind the label. Empathy is the antidote to dehumanization. It breaks the psychological distance required for cruelty. Accept responsibility. Never say, "I was just following orders." You are always responsible for what you choose to do. By owning our actions, we reclaim our agency. We stop being puppets and start being the authors of our own lives. Finally, we must cultivate what Zimbardo calls the heroic imagination. Heroism is not reserved for special people with superpowers. A hero is an ordinary person who acts when others are passive, who sacrifices comfort for principle when the moment comes. We must train for heroism like we train for a sport. We must mentally rehearse how we would handle ethical challenges. If you wait until the crisis hits to decide your values, it will be too late. The pressure will crush you. But if you have already decided who you are and what you stand for, you will be ready to act. History is full of people who refused to bow to evil. They were not different from us biologically, only psychologically prepared. The banality of evil is matched by the banality of heroism. Small acts of courage happen every day, unnoticed but vital. It is the student who reports bullying. It is the employee who speaks up against fraud. It is the whistleblower. These actions require overcoming the fear of social isolation. They require valuing truth more than the comfort of belonging. Understanding the Lucifer Effect is not about losing faith in humanity. It is about gaining a realistic view of our nature. Knowing that we are capable of evil keeps us humble. Knowing we are capable of heroism keeps us hopeful and striving. We are a mixture of light and shadow. The battle is not out there in the world, but inside us. By acknowledging this, we can build systems that bring out the best in us rather than the worst in us. We can design schools, workplaces, and societies that encourage cooperation and empathy rather than competition and blind obedience to power. The future depends on our ability to teach the next generation not just to be smart, but to be good. Psychology gives us the map, but we must be the ones to walk the path. The choice is always ours. So the next time you look in the mirror, do not be afraid of the shadow. Acknowledge it and choose the light. We have spent half our time exploring the darkness. Now let us look deeper into the mechanisms of our own minds. Let us examine the specific cognitive biases that blind us. One of the most powerful is the fundamental attribution error. We tend to attribute other people's mistakes to their character, while attributing our own mistakes to external circumstances or bad luck. When they trip, they are clumsy. When I tripped, the sidewalk was uneven. This bias prevents us from seeing our own faults. By correcting this bias, we become more forgiving of others and more critical of ourselves, a necessary balance for morality. Another mechanism is the diffusion of responsibility. We must actively fight the urge to wait for someone else to act. If you see an emergency, point to a specific person and give them a direct order. You, in the red shirt, call 911. This breaks the spell of the bystander effect. It assigns responsibility to an individual, forcing them to engage and help. You can be the person who stops the dominoes from falling. You can be the break in the chain of evil. Social pressure can be used for good too. If we create a norm of kindness, conformity will work in our favor. Virtue is just as contagious as vice. When we see acts of kindness, we experience moral elevation, inspiring us to do good. We must surround ourselves with reminders of our value, symbols, quotes, and friends who hold us accountable to our highest selves. Create an environment that primes you for good. If the situation shapes us, then we must shape the situation. We are the architects of our social world. We have the power to redesign the prisons we have built for ourselves. Zimbardo ended the experiment early because he realized the damage it was doing. It takes courage to admit a mistake and stop. It is never too late to turn back. Even if you have started down the slippery slope, you can always plant your feet. The most dangerous lie is that we are helpless, that we are just products of our genes or our environment. We have free will. It may be limited, it may be influenced, but it is there, and it is our responsibility to exercise it. Our prefrontal cortex allows us to override our primal impulses. It allows us to choose the harder right over the easier wrong. Mindfulness helps us pause between the stimulus and the response. In that pause lies our freedom and our power to choose. Practice the pause. When you feel anger rising or pressure to conform, take a breath. Step back. Look at the big picture. From a distance, our conflicts seem petty. We are one species, struggling together on a fragile planet floating in the void. Let us expand our circle of moral concern. Let us include not just our family and tribe, but all of humanity. When we do this, the us versus them mentality dissolves. There is only us, and there is no one left to dehumanize. This is the path to peace. It starts not with treaties signed by governments, but with changes in the human heart. The Lucifer Effect shows us how low we can sink, but it also implies how high we can rise if we choose. We can be the angels of our better nature. We can create a society that fosters heroism rather than conformity. Education is key. We must teach our children about these psychological experiments so they are forewarned and forearmed. Knowledge is the vaccine against evil. By understanding how authority works, we become immune to its manipulative power. We stand on the shoulders of giants who have analyzed the human condition. Let us use their wisdom to build a better world. The torch is now in your hands. You have the knowledge. You have the awareness. What will you do with it? Will you be the guard who puts on the sunglasses? Or will you be the hero who speaks up for the victim? Every day offers a dozen small choices. Each one is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Cast your votes wisely. Do not let the situation dictate your vote. Let your conscience be your only guide. Your moral compass needs calibration. Check it often. Test it against reality. Make sure it hasn't been magnetized by the crowd. It takes effort to be good. Evil is often the path of least resistance. It is gravity pulling us down. Virtue is defying gravity. It is an act of will. It is the refusal to surrender to our baser instincts. As we conclude this journey, take a moment to reflect. Think about the situations in your own life right now. Are there places where you are compromising your values to fit in, to please a boss, to avoid conflict? Identify those situations. Prepare your response. Be ready to be the deviant who saves the group from its own errors. The Lucifer Effect is a warning, but it is also a challenge. It challenges us to be vigilant, brave, and human. We are capable of terrible things, yes, but we are also capable of love, sacrifice, and transcendent goodness. Let us choose the latter. Let us prove that while we may have a shadow, we are not defined by it. Keep a journal. Reflect on your daily choices. Self-reflection is the mirror that keeps our soul clean. Ask yourself daily, who am I, and who do I want to be? Let the answer guide your actions. Reconnect with nature and reality. The artificial environments we create often distort our moral sense. Nature restores perspective. Be like a tree with deep roots. When the winds of social pressure blow, you will bend, but you will not break. Cherish authentic connections. Evil thrives in isolation and secrecy. Goodness thrives in openness and community. Transparency is the enemy of corruption. Live your life as if everything you do will be published on the front page. If you would be ashamed to see your actions reported, do not do them. Use the sunshine test for your decisions. Self-esteem helps too. When you value yourself, you are less likely to sabotage your integrity for the approval of others. Recognize the dignity in everyone. Treat the janitor with the same respect as the CEO. This destroys hierarchy-based evil. When we dismantle hierarchies of worth in our minds, we make it impossible to follow orders to harm inferiors. We are all passengers on the same ship. Mutiny against one is mutiny against all. We sink or swim together. Let us steer this ship towards a horizon of compassion. It requires all hands on deck, awake and alert. Be a lighthouse for others. Your example might be the only light someone sees in their darkest moment. Leadership is not about power. It is about responsibility. It is about protecting the group from its own worst tendencies. True leaders serve, they do not exploit. They empower others to be heroes, not compliant sheep. We need a society of lions, not sheep. Lions who are fierce in their defense of the weak and the truth. Strength is not about domination. It is about protection. The strong should be the shield for the vulnerable. Be the shield. When you see someone being attacked, physically or verbally, step in. Do not just watch. Conflict resolution is a skill of the heroic. It takes more courage to make peace than to start a war. Forgiveness breaks the cycle of revenge. It stops the pendulum of evil from swinging back and forth forever. We can stop the pendulum. We can end the cycle. It starts with you, right here, right now. If you believe in the power of the human mind to grow and change, join our community. Growth Through Thought is dedicated to exploring these difficult topics so we can all become better versions of ourselves. This video is just the beginning. The real work happens when you turn off the screen and step into the world. Go out there and be a force for good. Be the anomaly. Be the glitch in the matrix of evil. Rewrite the script. You are not a character written by Zimbardo or Milgram. You are the writer of your own story. Write a story of courage, of compassion, and of unshakable integrity. The world is waiting for your heroic imagination. Thank you for watching Growth Through Thought. Stay vigilant, stay kind, and remember, the line runs through your heart.